When you come to Boeing and our service reps, they know the aircraft. They don't have to call anybody else to get that information because they already know it.
I'm Theresa Hitchens with Breaking Defense, and we're here today with Major General Cooley of Air Force Research Lab, which has just put out a new vision statement for 2030. And I was really interested to hear from you how you came up with this concept, why you came up with it, how you chose the topics that are to be priorities.
So let me just clarify a little bit. First of all, Theresa, thank you for the opportunity to talk to your readers and listeners. This goes back to Secretary Heather Wilson. When she came in 2017, she asked the Air Force Research Laboratory to develop a new strategy to really look at, to make sure we're postured for the future in response to the National Defense Strategy. And so we took about a year and really did our homework, engaging industry, engaging academia, engaging other laboratories across the government. We engaged our allies to ensure that we are plugged into the right folks and that we're learning lessons from across that entire enterprise as to how can we do better to ensure we're staying on the cutting edge of technology and to bring transformational capability for our Air Force going forward. And so out of that strategy development, which was published in April of just this year, we identified three primary objectives to move to advance our technology and ensure that the organization is postured to achieve those goals. Some of the key takeaways, I think, are ensuring we're looking across the enterprise for transformational capabilities and that we're structured to transition those capabilities into programs of record. And that's always a challenge in the technology space. The commercial market struggles with the same thing. And so there's a number of things that we're doing to try and address that, working closely with the end users to ensure that we are postured for transition. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is competition. I think that's one of the strategic advantages that we have in the United States. We see it in the commercial sector every day. That competition drives the marketplace. In a similar way, we've got to make sure that we're competing ideas, competing technologies across the space for what things will actually make a difference. How can we achieve capabilities we believe we need? That's a very important part of the strategy. If you look at prior strategies that are published, a lot of those list out technologies. We did not. We focused on the capabilities because we recognize there are specific technologies that are competing to achieve those capabilities, which is exactly what we want. We want those technologies to compete to see which ones are actually going to be able to deliver. And so that's sort of a fundamental shift as to how we're addressing this. The other big takeaway that I'm emphasizing is the partnerships. So making sure we have the right people involved with developing technology, both within the government, and so we have a number of activities to focus on that, but also the partnerships that we have, because this is a whole of government, whole of nation activity that we've got to engage in. And so the partnerships with academia, with industry, with our allies is essential. And so there's a number of activities that we're pushing to ensure that our partnerships are strong. And it's not just an awareness of what others are doing, but rather a coupled partnership where we're working together towards the same end objectives.
I just wanted to ask about the Vanguard programs that I know you have not announced what they are yet, but I just wanted to ask about the philosophy behind developing them.
No, that's a great question. So yeah, we have not selected Vanguard programs at this date, but we're in a discussion to identify what those potential Vanguard programs could be. The important aspect with respect to these Vanguard programs, well, a couple of things. First of all, going back to the definition of Vanguard, Webster says Vanguard is a lead element in a military formation. And so we're purposely trying to identify what are those things that may fundamentally change the way in which we're approaching warfare and the way the concept of operations. And so some of the ideas that we're wrestling with is, I mean, artificial intelligence and autonomy, those kinds of things will fundamentally change the nature and the roles in which our warfighters are engaged. And so working through some of those kinds of things. As the chief has talked about a number of times, connecting all of the sensors, every platform on the battlefield, such that we have as broad an awareness, and how do we use those things. So those are some things that may fundamentally change the way in which we prosecute future wars. And so those are, you know, fundamental ideas behind what a Vanguard is. And so the other important aspect about Vanguards is we want to ensure that we're going to do something that transitions and actually gets into the hands of the warfighter. And so we're taking our time, we're being thoughtful about this to ensure that the programs that we invest in and that we designate as Vanguards have a high probability of actually becoming a program of record and getting into the inventory of the Air Force. And so those things, by their very nature, take a little bit of time to think through what are those key investments that we're going to make, and are we going to properly resource these things to the finish.
Great. Thank you very much, General, for your time. We appreciate you being here for our readers and for us, and I hope to have another opportunity to speak with you soon, perhaps down at Wright Pat.
Thank you, Theresa. I appreciate the time.